Hello, everybody. Crypto Caesar. It's the 22nd of November. Hope you are all well. I just wanted to do a quick update with regard to Bitcoin. So obviously, a lot of people at the moment are feeling the pain. We are now capitulating down into the 4-year cycle low, in my view. We are pretty much now about 77% down from the all-time high. So quite a significant 78% down. So quite a significant move down. As you all probably know, historically, Bitcoin has drawn down about 84% or so to the lows. 84%. Yeah, I mean, same in the cycle prior to that. But you know, for me, this is just normal. This is just part of the boom and bust cycle. But I think it's important that we, there's a lot of FUD going around at the moment, and also equally a lot of really bad news. So I think it's important that we put all of this really into perspective. Okay, you've got to look at the history of bottoms and indeed the history of tops. Okay, because when you look at the history and you put things into perspective, you can kind of understand what happens, what sort of news is released during bottoms and what sort of news is released during tops. So, right back in sort of 2015, the beginning of 2015, when Bitcoin, found this low of about $109, a lot of bad news was coming out. Bitstamp was hacked. Okay, there was a big Bitstamp hack that caused the market to move down. Russia then decided it was going to ban all Bitcoin-related websites. Ross Ulbricht, his trial started around about this time. And of course, Ross was involved in the Silk Road sort of stuff. And everybody was concerned that the US government were going to start selling hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins onto the open market. Then we had Sex10 suspending cloud mining operations. I mean, if you go back and look at the news around about that time, you could probably add another 10 or 12 or 20 odd things to that. Okay, so it's just really, really bad news at the bottom. That's quite normal. Okay, then next bottom, around about the November time, towards the middle to end of November into December, we had all sorts of bad news. We had the Bitcoin forks, ABC and SV. There was a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of FUD saying that that Bitcoin was under pressure and Bitcoin wouldn't survive these forks, and Bitcoin was no good because it can just be forked and forked and forked, etc. That caused some downside risk. Then there was also the investigation into Bitfinex for market manipulation. I mean, I remember that really, really well. And everybody, for years after that, said that we'll never have an all-time high ever again because Bitfinex was involved in market manipulation, and the only reason it went to 20K was because Bitfinex put it there. And what happened? We went to 69K. All right, so FUD. All right, I'm sure there was probably some manipulation there. I'm not sure, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin printed another all-time high. Then we had, you probably all remember if you were there in 2018, the massive miner capitulation. I remember seeing photographs of all these ASIC miners being thrown out, big, huge, great bins full of miners, mining corporations just giving up and walking out. Also, I think that there was some, the Chinese might have been involved again in some ban of Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining around that time, quite possibly. Then we had the Goldman Sachs wrote an article, I think. Originally, they had plans to open a Bitcoin trading desk, and then they abandoned that plan. They wrote an article about it, I think, which was, quite sort of derogatory towards Bitcoin, and they completely abandoned those plans, causing further downside. And then I think the Financial Times described the situation of Bitcoin at this point as the bad news keeps coming for Bitcoin like cockroaches coming out of a hole. Okay, so this is the sort of news you get at bottoms. All right, and we're getting bad news at the moment, and we've been getting bad news for some time, and that's just quite normal, to be honest. And it's all part of these boom and bust cycles. All right, that's what happens when we're at the top. Everybody gets excited. All sorts of things, articles are being written about Bitcoin going to 500K and this, that, and the other, and everybody gets really too excited. And then the bust cycle begins, all right? And then when we get to the bottom of these cycles, all of these really, really sort of fear-based articles and news and all that sort of thing happens. Because at the end of the day, you know, when we're in a bust cycle, people go bankrupt, all right? People get shaken out the market, and that's all part of the process of you know, market cycles. Only the strongest survive, all right? It's the same in the tech stock market, okay? It's the same there. So for me, all of this bad news at the moment is not unusual. In fact, it's quite usual. And I think, you know, as an investor in Bitcoin, just go back and look. Go back and look. Use Google. It's a very powerful instrument. Go back and look at the news that was around about those bottoms, and indeed look at the news at the tops, all right? And then you might get some perspective. Now, looking at Bitcoin now, as I said in my last video, it failed. It's failed to reclaim this 18K area. So in my view, now the downside risk is pretty high. The first area of support for me is about 14K. I think that Bitcoin's going to go to 14K. It's highly likely. The next area of support is around about 12K, and below that is about 10K. For me, you know, anything basically under 19K was a good point to start nibbling away at spot Bitcoin. But in this area now, I think is a really good opportunity for me anyway. Everybody has a different plan, but for me, this is a great sort of range between 14 and 10K. Very good range. Now, let's have a look briefly at some on-chain. Okay, so this is the Bitcoin net unrealized profit and loss. You can see here, this is overlaid with the fear and greed index, and you can see here that the new pull, or the net unrealized profit and loss of Bitcoin, is pretty good at gauging tops. Okay, these were the tops in 2013. Okay. Blue, the market was in euphoria. Okay, very good indication there that you should start probably selling some of your position. And then this was the market bottom in January of 2015, complete recapitulation. Again, here, this was the market top in December of 2017, and this was the market bottom here down in December of 2018. Now, we did touch the top. We almost went into euphoria back in April 2021, but we didn't quite go above. Then we came over for the double top, which didn't get close. And now we've come down, and we are now in this capitulation zone. Okay, we are clearly in the red here. And this, for me, you know, as I say, everybody has a different plan. Everybody has a different way of taking positions in markets. But for me, this is a really good, decent indication that Bitcoin is trading at a massive discount, okay? Because if you had bought Bitcoin here, okay, or here in the past, then that was a very good point for you to take a position in spot Bitcoin. And therefore, this indicator is telling me now that Bitcoin is trading at a very, very big discount, it being 78% down from its highs. So I've got no issues for the future. We could have some further downside. We could go to 10K. We could go lower than 10K, but I'm prepared to take the pain on that. It's all about, for me, just dollar cost averaging in or laddering in to your position. You know, holding on to your position, and as long as your time horizon is longer than 5 minutes, then the likelihood is, in my view anyway, that the reward will be pretty good. Like I said in my last video, the chances of us having a V-shaped recovery like we did during the COVID crisis is very unlikely. Okay, that was a massive injection of global liquidity into the market. That's not going to happen. Okay, so the chances are, once we find the bottom, we're going to sort of grind a bottom out, and we're going to probably languish there for some time. Okay, go flat and just sort of round a bottom out like we did here in 2015, flat rounding a bottom out like we did here in 2018 and 19, flat rounding a bottom out. And the likelihood is, once the bottom is found, whether it's here at 16K, whether it's at, you know, 10, 11K, 14K, whatever it might be, the likelihood is that we languish, okay, there for some time. And when I say some time, the likelihood is it's going to be some months. mean, it's 34 weeks back in the low in 2015. It was 19 weeks in December 2018 through to 19. So the likelihood is it's going to be weeks / months. But once we grind that bottom out, once we get a decent, a decent sort of accumulation zone for the bottom, it will spring out of there. Okay. And once it springs out of there, it'll probably spring out pretty quick. I mean, if you look in the history, once it's found this bottom, it's grounded out, it comes out pretty quick. Same here, comes out pretty quick. I mean, in this example, it was a 255% move to the upside. In this example, it was a 248% move to the upside. Okay, so once that bottom is ground out, expect to see some decent upside pretty quickly. My view is that, I wouldn't be surprised, maybe I'll be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised that Bitcoin trades around about 40 to 50K in about August of 2023. Then I think we go sideways into the halving and then start printing new all-time highs come 2024, 2025. The next scheduled halving, as you can see on the chart here, is April 2024. And of course, these red vertical lines represent all the previous halvings. So for me, this is an opportunity. I see this as a real opportunity. So I will continue to pick up and nibble away at spot Bitcoin at these lows and see where we go. And just from a 4-year cycle perspective, as you all know, I'm deeply interested in the 4-year cycle. Bitcoin tends to trend in 4-year cycles from peak to peak and bottom to bottom. The likelihood is, the likelihood is that basically, factually, the four years from the last low to the next is around about the 6th or the 12th of December. So we are very, very close. And if the 4-year cycle continues to be correct and it hasn't been broken as yet, then the low should be coming in the next few weeks or month. So let's see what happens. Okay. But, as I say, perspective is important in markets because markets are all about psychology. And once you get your psychology nailed in markets, that's when you don't have to worry so much. Okay. And that's when you start making money. Okay. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in joining the group, there's a link in the description to Crypto Caesar Capital. Reach out to me on Twitter or email me through the website and we'll get you into the group immediately. It's only $1 a day. It's $365. That's $1 a day. That's less than half a cup of coffee. So, really good deal there. Anyway, take care. Hope you're all well, and I'll do another video very soon. Bye-bye.